Sometimes destiny wraps itself in panic, and love disguises itself as desperation. This is the story of a single embrace that changed two souls forever. The Crystal Palace shimmers under ethereal moonlight, its walls made of pure starlight crystal that bends reality itself. Floating candles drift through air thick with magic, their flames casting dancing shadows across marble floors that reflect not just light, but dreams themselves. This is the nexus of wishes, a mystical realm where mortal hopes take physical form, where the impossible becomes inevitable. In a world between sleeping and waking, where dreams crystallize into reality, the lonely gather to witness miracles they cannot create themselves. Emma stands like a wilted flower among blooming goddesses, clutching a silver invitation that pulses with otherworldly energy. Her midnight blue dress, borrowed and slightly too loose, makes her feel like an imposter in this palace of wonders. She doesn't belong among these ethereal beings who speak in melodies and leave trails of stardust with every step. She came only to return the invitation her mystic friend insisted she use, then disappear back into her ordinary world. But fate had different plans. Love has a cruel sense of timing. It arrives precisely when we're least prepared to receive it. Through the crowd of luminescent beings, she spots Marcus, her ex-lover, gliding across crystal floors with his new companion, Celestine, a dream weaver whose very presence makes roses bloom in midair. Their ethereal beauty burns Emma's eyes. When they notice her, Marcus's triumphant smile cuts deeper than any blade. Her chest tightens. The magical energy around her begins to flicker and spark, responding to her emotional chaos like a barometer of the heart. She will not face them alone. Not here, where her inadequacy glows like a beacon. Desperation moves her feet before her mind can protest. When we're drowning, we don't choose our lifeline carefully. We simply grab whatever feels solid. Near a fountain of liquid starlight stands Alexander, tall and devastating in a coat that seems woven from midnight itself. He reads from a manuscript that glows with ancient wisdom, his presence both commanding and gentle. Unlike the other mystical beings, something about him feels achingly, beautifully real. Without thought, without permission, Emma launches herself into his arms like a woman falling from a great height. He freezes, muscles taut with surprise, then slowly, carefully, enfolds her against his chest as if she might shatter. "Should I be concerned about this sudden act of trust?" he asks, his voice like velvet over steel. "Please," she whispers against his heartbeat, "just let me belong somewhere for one moment." His cologne carries secrets, sandalwood, distant rain, and something indefinably ancient. She feels his chest rise and fall, steady as mountains, while Marcus's footsteps echo past them. When she dares to peek, she sees her ex's frustrated expression, and sweet relief floods her trembling limbs. "Are you safe now, brave little dreamer?" he asks, his arms tightening protectively. "I think so," she says, pulling back with blazing cheeks. "Thank you for catching me when I fell." She steps away, truly seeing him for the first time. Sharp cheekbones carved by moonlight, tousled dark hair that defies earthly physics, and eyes like deep forest pools that hold centuries of secrets. His beauty isn't mortal, it's the kind that makes poets weep and artists abandon their craft in despair. "I'm mortified," she says quickly, stumbling over words. "That was completely insane. My ex was right there and I just panicked and chose you as my human shield." "Desperation often reveals our truest instincts," he replies with a mysterious smile. "Though I must confess, being embraced by a magnificent stranger is unprecedented, even in this realm of impossibilities." Lightning crackles between their gazes. "I'm Emma," she says breathlessly. "Alexander," he replies, bowing slightly. "Forever honored to be your temporary sanctuary. Let me buy you nectar of dreams to apologize for my spectacular breakdown," she offers, laughing like silver bells. "I find myself utterly curious about you, Emma who hugs strangers," he says with intrigue. "Some conversations are destined before the first word is spoken. Some connections exist before souls even meet." They ascend to the terrace of whispered hopes, a floating balcony suspended above the valley of sleeping cities. Below them, millions of lights twinkle, each one a dreaming mortal heart. Glasses of golden dream nectar shimmer between them, the liquid swirling with captured starlight. Emma kicks off her torturous heels, her laughter now flowing freely like a mountain stream finally released from winter ice. "What would you have done if I'd rejected your desperate embrace?" Alexander asks. "Probably dissolved into cosmic embarrassment and floated away as cosmic dust," she grins mischievously. "Then I'm profoundly grateful I could spare the universe such a loss," he says with rich laughter. "You played along beautifully," she notes. "Almost like you understood exactly what I needed." Was he someone who mattered deeply? He asks, hesitating as shadows cross his features. Her radiant smile dims like a candle in sudden wind. Too deeply. For too long. In all the wrong ways, she says softly. She gazes out at the constellation of sleeping cities below, each twinkling with the dreams of millions. I haven't allowed anyone close since him. Tonight wasn't supposed to become whatever this magical thing is between us. Neither was mine, he says, leaning back and studying the stars. You haven't been embracing your ex-lovers? She teases. I haven't been embracing anyone at all, he admits with melancholy. It becomes complicated when you carry the weight of impossible responsibilities. What kind of responsibilities could someone like you possibly have? She begins. He gestures toward the mystical realm around them, the floating cities connected by bridges of crystallized music, the aurora borealis dancing between dimensions, the very fabric of dreams made manifest. I am the guardian of this entire realm, he says quietly as if confessing a sin. The keeper of dreams. The last of my kind. The nectar glass slips from Emma's suddenly nerveless fingers, shattering into 1,000 points of light that drift away like dying stars. That's impossible, she whispers. The eternal guardians are legends. Myths whispered by grandmothers to sleepy children. Does knowing this change everything between us? He asks, meeting her stunned gaze. Truth has a way of arriving precisely when we're least equipped to handle it. But some truths are worth the devastation they bring. In that moment, suspended between earth and stars, under an infinity that sings lullabies, it doesn't matter. But she knows, with the terrible certainty of mortal hearts, that it might matter later. That it will matter when reality reasserts its cruel logic. The morning sun finds Emma in her small, achingly ordinary apartment, awakening with something she hasn't felt in months, hope burning bright as a newborn star in her chest. Not because of mystical realms or dream nectar, but because of him. Alexander, the impossible guardian who held her without questions, who made her feel precious instead of pathetic. She doesn't expect contact from an immortal being. What would a cosmic guardian want with one fragile, temporary mortal heart? But then her phone buzzes with a message that defies every law of interdimensional communication. You left your courage scattered across the realm of dreams. I thought you might need it returned to its rightful owner. Her heart performs impossible acrobatics. Where should I meet you to reclaim it? She types. The ancient library between worlds. Do you know of it? The one that appears only to souls who truly hunger for knowledge? That's the one. It's been waiting for you. Some places exist not in geography but in yearning. The ancient library between worlds appears only to those brave enough to seek truth, even when truth might destroy them. The library materializes in the space between sleeping and waking, its shelves stretching infinitely upward, filled with every story ever dreamed, every tale ever whispered in the dark. Books float through the air like paper birds seeking their destined readers, and the whispered words of 1,000 tales create a symphony of possibilities. Alexander sits cross-legged on the floor between towering shelves, reading from a tome that pulses with inner light. When Emma materializes through the doorway woven from crystallized thoughts, he looks up with a smile that could resurrect dead stars. You found your way here. I never doubted you would, he says. I almost convinced myself none of this was real, she admits, settling beside him. The most profound truths rarely feel real at first, he replies, closing his glowing book. They're too beautiful for ordinary belief. They wander through endless aisles where books choose their readers with mystical precision, conversations flowing like poetry between kindred souls. Emma admits her deepest secret. She's always dreamed of writing stories that could heal broken hearts, tales that could mend what seemed irreparably shattered. Alexander shares his own impossible longing. Despite his immortality, despite commanding the dreams of millions, he's always yearned for one perfect, achingly mortal moment. One heartbeat that belongs entirely to him, unmarked by cosmic duty. 4 hours immeasurable, they exist in this sanctuary between worlds, where time moves like honey and hearts can speak without fear of consequences. When they finally step outside, reality feels harsher, more demanding, like putting on shoes that no longer fit. I don't usually do this, Alexander says, suddenly vulnerable. What? Invite mortals to impossible libraries? Emma asks. Ask them to consider spending whatever time they have with someone like me, he replies, laughing but with serious eyes. Her breath catches, trapped somewhere between her lungs and her dreams. Why me? She asks, barely audible. Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like the guardian of dreams, he says, stepping closer. I feel like just Alexander. A man who reads poetry and laughs at terrible jokes and remembers what it means to hope for tomorrow. Some questions change everything simply by being asked. Some answers rewrite the very architecture of our hearts. That evening, alone in her apartment, Emma researches everything about the eternal guardians. Ancient beings who maintain the delicate balance between dreams and reality. Immortal. All-powerful. Utterly, impossibly beyond the reach of mortal love. She reads about the curse of immortality, the profound loneliness, the weight of endless responsibility, the agony of watching everyone you love age and fade like autumn leaves while you remain forever unchanged. The man she met, the one who sat on library floors and made her laugh until her ribs ached, that man felt beautifully, perfectly human. But now there's an ocean of eternity stretching between them. The next morning, a miracle appears on her nightstand, a small, leather-bound journal that materializes through dream magic. Inside, the first page bears his elegant script. For the stories you'll write and the dreams you'll make real. Every blank page is a new beginning, every word a small act of rebellion against despair. Emma closes her eyes and feels something fundamental shift in her chest. This isn't gratitude anymore. This isn't fascination or infatuation. This is love, vast and terrifying as the spaces between stars, as infinite and impossible as the man who gave up pieces of his immortal heart to make her smile. Love doesn't ask permission. It doesn't check our readiness or consult our fears. It simply arrives like weather, inevitable, transformative, and utterly beyond our control. Their secret meetings become a rhythm more essential than breathing. Dawn conversations in gardens where flowers sing opera. Midnight walks through forests of crystallized dreams where their footsteps leave trails of silver light. Stolen hours in the space between heartbeats, where immortal and mortal can pretend that love conquers even the laws of existence. But even as something profound and impossible blooms between them, Emma cannot silence the voice of reason in her head. He's forever. You're temporary. This beautiful dream must end. She doesn't tell him about her nightmares of growing old while he remains eternally young. About watching her reflection age while his stays fixed like a portrait. About the novel she started and abandoned because mortal dreams felt laughably small next to cosmic responsibilities. One evening, after they've shared stories under a waterfall of liquid moonlight, reality intrudes with the force of an avalanche. A figure materializes in robes woven from starlight, a member of the Council of Cosmic Order, beings so ancient they predate the concept of time itself. Guardian Alexander, the council member, says, voice like the grinding of planets. Your presence is required immediately for the great convergence of realms. The fabric of reality requires mending. Alexander's entire essence shifts, the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on his shoulders like a mountain made of duty and sacrifice. I'll return the moment I can break away, he tells Emma, eyes pleading. The convergence operates outside mortal time, the council member says implacably. What you call days may stretch into years. Immortals cannot afford the luxury of counting moments. Emma's heart doesn't just break, it shatters like crystal, each piece cutting deeper than the last. Years. In the cosmic scale of his existence, it's nothing. A blink. A breath. In her mortal life, it's everything she has. As duty pulls him away from her reaching hands, she finally understands the true cruelty of loving the impossible. Forever always wins. Eternity always claims its own. Days crawl by like wounded animals. Then weeks that feel like small eternities. Emma stops visiting the spaces between worlds, stops expecting him to materialize with that smile that could make dead things bloom again. She tells herself this is the natural order. Mortals don't love immortals because duty always calls, and forever always wins, and temporary hearts were never meant to hold infinite love. But in the deepest hours of night, she opens the journal he gave her and finally begins to write. Not about their impossible love, that still feels too raw, too sacred to expose to words, but about courage. About a girl who hugged a stranger and discovered she was braver than she knew. About love that transcends realms, even when it can't conquer time. Sometimes we must write our way through heartbreak. Sometimes words are the only bridge back to ourselves. 1 month and 13 days after he disappeared into cosmic duty, her phone buzzes with a message that stops her heart, restarts it, then sets it racing like a wild horse. I've been trying to reach you across dimensions, through dreams, through every method known to immortals. The convergence is finished. I made a choice that will change everything. What kind of choice? She types. I bound my immortality to mortal time. I traded eternity for something infinitely more precious. Her hands shake so violently she can barely type. What does that mean? It means I have one human lifetime. 70 years if fortune smiles, maybe 80 if we're blessed. I chose every single one of those years to be yours. You gave up forever for me? She asked. I traded forever for something better. A lifetime of mortal moments with the woman who taught me what it means to be beautifully, perfectly human. They meet at sunrise on the boundary between worlds, where the mystical realm kisses mortal earth. Alexander looks exactly the same, devastatingly beautiful, touched by otherworldly grace, but something fundamental has shifted. She can sense his heartbeat now, syncing with mortal time, counting down the precious seconds of a life deliberately chosen over eternity. You really did it, Emma says through streaming tears. You chose to be temporary. I chose you, he says, cupping her face like she's made of spun glass. I chose us. I chose love over duty, moments over millennia. But I'm not worth an eternity, she sobs. You're worth every heartbeat I have left, he says, kissing her forehead. You're worth every sunrise, every dream, every story we'll write together in the margins of our beautifully ordinary days. She looks into his eyes, still deep as ancient forests, but now reflecting the same precious, fragile mortality that beats in her chest. What happens to the dream realm without its guardian? She asks. It will find a new protector, he smiles with infinite tenderness. Someone who understands that the most powerful dreams aren't the ones we escape to, they're the ones we make real in the waking world. He produces a small key that glows with residual magic, warm as captured sunlight. I have something for you, he says. A bookshop that exists in both worlds, mortal and mystical. A place where dreams and reality can dance together, where stories can heal hearts and hope can take physical form. Alexander, this is impossibly generous, she says breathlessly. It's not generosity. It's investment, he replies. In us. In the stories you'll write. In the dreams you'll help others discover. In the lifetime of beautiful, mortal moments we're going to collect like precious stones. This time she doesn't hesitate. She takes the key, and with it she takes the future they'll build together, one heartbeat, one story, one impossibly perfect day at a time. 6 months later, the bookshop called Between Dreams sits at the corner where magic meets reality. Inside, people find exactly the book their hearts need, whether they knew they were searching or not. Some volumes glow softly with inner light, others whisper their stories to those wise enough to listen. Emma runs the shop during the day, writing her own healing stories in the quiet hours before dawn. Her novel, about love that transcends realms and courage found in desperate moments, will be published next spring, touching hearts she'll never meet, mending souls she'll never know. Alexander helps in the evenings, his former cosmic powers now channeled into an uncanny ability to match readers with exactly the tale that will change their lives. Sometimes customers swear they glimpse starlight in his eyes, but they assume it's simply the way candlelight plays across his beautiful face. Their love story never becomes legend. It doesn't need to. It's written in the margins of wonderfully ordinary days, in shared cups of tea that taste like contentment, in books read aloud by flickering candlelight, in hands that find each other without looking, in hearts that chose each other across impossible odds. It's the story of a girl who hugged a stranger and discovered she was brave enough to love infinity, and a guardian who gave up eternity because he learned that some moments, the right moments with the right person, are worth more than all the time in the universe. And in the back corner of their magical bookshop, on a shelf marked True Stories, sits a small leather-bound journal. The first page reads, "Sometimes the most impossible love stories are the only ones worth telling. Sometimes forever is just another word for right now with exactly the right person. They say love stories end with happily ever after. But the most beautiful love stories never truly end. They simply transform, becoming part of the infinite tapestry of dreams that connect all hearts across all realms. Some love transcends time. Some love transcends space. And some love is so powerful, it convinces eternity itself to become mortal, just for the privilege of growing old beside the one person who makes forever feel too short. This is that kind of love story. Love isn't what lasts forever, love is what gives us courage to live each moment fully."